Good morning and welcome back to the Informed American podcast, where we unpack the week's biggest developments in U.S. politics, foreign policy, and global affairs without the spin, without the lies, or untruths. I'm your host, Shelley Meyer. Last week, I was unable to do the podcast because my internet went out. Such is life. So I'm catching up with the last 2 weeks to keep you, my listeners, informed. Today, I'm going to navigate the key events that have shaken Washington and rippled around the world since October 6th. There's a lot to cover: military escalations in the Caribbean, legal drama in Washington, trade tensions with China, pivotal peace summit in the Middle East. Let's dive in. The government shutdown deepens. The U.S. federal government remains shut down now in its second week after Congress failed to reach an agreement on funding. The root disputes are over healthcare subsidies, domestic spending, and foreign aid rescissions. Now, Republicans think Democrats want illegal or undocumented immigrants to get health care. That is not a law. It's never happened, and it's never going to happen. So they're blaming Democrats for wanting this, and it's just not true. The source comes from Wikipedia. Around 900,000 federal employees have been furloughed, and an additional 700,000 are working without pay, including the airlines, pilots, and air traffic controllers working double shifts with no pay, also from Wikipedia. Many crucial federal agencies, including the CDC, NIH, and WIC, have seen partial or full suspensions of operations. The shutdown is already affecting air travel, as I mentioned. Staffing shortages among air traffic controllers have caused delays at major airports. And again, they're working without pay and working double shifts. Amid the shutdown, the Trump administration has moved to authorize alternate funding to pay military personnel using unobligated research and development funds, a move that has sparked both political controversy and legal scrutiny. Now, why this matters? The longer the shutdown continues, the deeper its impacts, not just on federal workers, but on public health, safety net programs, and public services that many Americans rely on. The U.S., Venezuela, and Caribbean military posturing. The U.S. has militarily escalated its operations in the Caribbean, targeting alleged drug trafficking vessels in waters near Venezuela. This comes from the Business Insider. Multiple strikes have been reported. One latest strike reportedly killed 6 individuals on a Venezuelan vessel, and the U.S. released footage of the operation. Now, it is not known whether this was a vessel carrying drugs, but it was shot and people died. Venezuela has formally appealed to the UN Security Council to condemn the strikes as illegal and to assert its sovereignty. This is coming from Reuters. The U.S. has also deployed a large naval force to the region, 10 ships, special operations units, and air assets to show force. Why does this matter? These operations raise serious questions about the international law, U.S. military reach, and the balance between counter-narcotics strategy and respect for sovereignty. Is there such a thing as respect for sovereignty? Legal showdowns and political intrigue in Washington. The former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton was indicted on 18 counts related to unauthorized retention and sharing of classified documents, including over 1,000 pages with relatives. This comes from the AP News. There's more to this story in the coming weeks. The indictment comes amid accusations that Trump's Department of Justice is using prosecutorial, that's a difficult word, power to target political opponents. A new report from the more than 340 former intelligence and national security officials warn the U.S. is on a trajectory towards competitive authoritarianism, where democratic institutions remain in name but are hollowed out in practice. This comes from The Guardian. So basically what that means is the Trump administration is defunding most Democrat affiliations, not Republican. So why does this matter? The integrity of legal institutions, checks and balances, and democratic norms lie at the heart of these developments. The indictments, criticisms, and institutional changes could reshape the balance of power in Washington. Now for trade tensions with China and supply chains. The U.S. pushed back hard in response to China's new export controls on rare earth elements and critical minerals, warning of economic decoupling and threats to global supply chains. This comes from the Financial Times. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent emphasized that China's move signals unreliability as a trading partner with ripple effects across electronics, AI, batteries, and defense industries. Also from the Financial Times. Trump has threatened heavy tariffs on Chinese goods again if these policies persist, signaling a fresh escalation in the U.S.-China trade war. It won't be long before China has 100% tariffs on them. And what does that mean? It means American consumers will face the brunt of this. So why does this matter? Rare earths are crucial to modern technologies. Disruption here could hurt everything from consumer electronics to national security program. Nice thing, doesn't it? The Gaza ceasefire and diplomatic summit. The conflict in Gaza took a major turn. On October 10th, my birthday, a ceasefire agreement went into effect, and soon after, the Sharm el-Sheikh Peace Summit was convened, co-hosted by the U.S. and Egypt. Thank goodness. Finally, something good. Around 30 countries were invited, though Israel and Hamas did not send high-level delegations. And Trump's address to the Israel Knesset and his boats of diplomatic victory have been framed as one of the administration's key foreign policy wins. I will give that to him. So why does this matter? Gaza peace deal marks a turning point in the Israel-Hamas conflict, and U.S. diplomatic influence is under the microscope. And it will continue to be so until we get this all figured out. The broader spectrum and warning signs. The U.S. is deploying National Guard troops in cities like Chicago and Portland, seeking expanding authority in states like Oregon and other blue cities. They're claiming that Portland is a war zone, and all we have seen are people peacefully protesting in suits, animals, giraffes, and the frogs. That's, seems harmless to me and most everybody else. But this moves which courts have rejected as overreach. So many judges have called this unconstitutional, and one judge even actually denied Trump's request to have the National Guard move into other cities. Now, critics warn that the country toward authoritarianism, citing repeated attacks on independent agencies, politicization of law enforcement, and erosion of the norms. I'm not a Trump supporter, and everybody knows that, and I agree with this. But this isn't about my opinion, it's about facts. So we're going to let that one go for now. Meanwhile, the military chain of command is shifting. Admiral Alvin Halsey of Southcom announced his retirement amid this period of intensifying operations. This comes from the New York Post, and I wonder why this matters. So, at the intersection of national security and civil liberties, these developments could redefine the role of government in domestic policing and external projection of power. So, over the past week, the United States has seen shutdowns clashing with showdowns abroad, deepening institutional battles at home, and high stakes diplomacy in the Middle East. We are walking through a period of profound volatility. The decisions made now on law, war, diplomacy, and governance may redefine the character of American power for years to come. So, if you care about how your government operates, the rule of law, and America's place on the world stage, these are not stories to scroll past. Stay alert, stay involved, and stay informed. This has been the Informed American Podcast. I'm Shelley Meyer, bringing you clarity on the headlines that matter. Join me next week as we dig deeper, break walls apart, and seek answers together. Please like and subscribe and share if you feel that other people need to see this. Thank you and have a great day.